In huge corporations, you often find people who have jobs that basically do almost nothing but aren't noticed by their higher-ups. What examples have you seen of this? Back in the day, the company had a system where each employee had an in and out basket for work coming to and going from their desk. The mailroom had people who went around with carts picking up the out, taking it to the mailroom, and delivering the in. We had one employee who every few days just dumped his in basket into his out basket. It would take a day for it to come back, making it look, at the end of the day, that he had handled everything. There was also a certain percentage of stuff that he sent out would end up in someone else's in and he would never see it again. Reminds me of Catch-22. There's a guy in the hospital all wrapped up in bandages. He has an 4 bag going in and a catheter bag coming out. Every 12 hours the nurses switch the bags. That's messed up. Ha ha. I knew a guy who would go to meetings. About a dozen a month. And all he'd do is open a little notebook and take notes. When I asked him what he was doing, he said, "My job is to take notes and that's it." I asked where he put the notes and he said he put them in a little folder in his office and they haven't been touched in 15 years. I don't know how people do this. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for finding an easy gig and cruising. The issue is if my role was that obviously useless and didn't gain me skills, I'd just be terrified I'd be found out, fired, and not have marketable skills to leverage. Easy. Take notes at the meeting. Company gets sued for insane allegations. Meeting notes prove the lawsuit has no merit. Company's attorneys get attorney's fees from plaintiff instead of having to spend possibly hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars defending and or settling the lawsuit, so note taker's $80,000 salary paid for itself for the next 10 to 20 years. Then they realize that this job can be easily replaced with a recorder. Yep, or I don't know, have someone who's attending the meetings for an actual purpose log their notes. Can't imagine many situations where you need a person whose full-time job is just note-taking. I work for a big corporation, and there are several groups that have a layer of middle management where their only purpose is to consolidate information provided by lower levels and present that information to upper levels. Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that? What the hell is wrong with you people? I love that movie, but that scene is kind of frustrating for anyone who's worked in product development or product management. If engineers had to talk directly to customers, they'd never have time to do any engineering, and there would be no bigger product strategy other than do exactly what the customer says they want. I know a lot of engineers who aren't social enough to talk to customers all day anyway. You need people who can understand customer needs but build a product roadmap and define a product that meets those needs but is also broad enough to be useful to multiple customers. At least someone with the business sense to say, listen to this customer, not that one because their business is worth a lot more to us. We had a brilliant UI developer that we had to hide when customers were in the office because he was notorious for telling them, "Oh, that's easy, it would take no time," even if the feature wasn't a requirement. It undercut any of our negotiations. One of my least favorite parts of growing up is how that whole scene slowly transitioned from, this guy doesn't do anything and got caught LOL to how do these consultants not know about this job? I know like 7 people with some version of this job. My job is almost literally this. I'm a customer relationship manager. Basically, my job is to keep customers feeling like someone is listening to them while support scrambles to figure out WTF is going on, while engineering is trying to figure out how to manage the Frankenstein of a product we have that's been built via acquisitions. In fairness to the position, people skills and de-escalation skills are not something everyone has. And the one time I brought the director of support on a call with an escalated customer, he essentially called them idiots for 45 minutes and I had to spend an hour getting yelled at by the customer to smooth it over. There are 2 kinds of managers: people who manage down in the organization, and people who manage up in the organization. The most effective teams work under both. While it seems like a stupid job, if you've ever worked in a group where you didn't have someone tasked with managing up in the organization, it's painfully clear how critical that role can be, and how unique the skill set is for it. I worked a decent chunk of my career essentially paired with someone who took on that role, both C-level. I could manage down org because I didn't have to waste time managing the board and CEO. The requirements of the two are different enough that, beyond a certain size, fairly small, really, one person doing both means one person doing both poorly. I was looking at the titles on a big work email once. All that's VPs, directors, associate VPs and directors, etc., and I never even heard of their names. It wasn't even that big of an organization, but top-heavy AF. And each of those titles came with a sweet six-figure, plus salary. Well, one thing to keep in mind is that some organizations, particularly sales, pretty much require people to have VP titles, because customers want to feel like they are getting VP attention. Same with consultants. So depending on your organization, it may not have actually been top-heavy AF. The biggest example in tech are the developers who have been doing development long enough that the company mistook longevity for management skills. There are so many team leads and project managers and product owners in tech companies whose only qualifications are been at the company a few years and never offended anybody, whose only job now are to sit around in a few meetings every day and say, "What about X idea we probably won't ever do once every 15 minutes or so?" Yep. Not on the tech side, but I spent 5 years as an artist/game developer using my degree. Looked around, realized that if I wanted more money, I'd have to become a lead and then eventually some kind of AD. I didn't want to manage people. I wanted to draw and paint. Why is that only a viable game dev role for 20-somethings? Some of us just want to make pretty shit for the whole duration. TBH, it's the same with programming. You end up getting promoted into leading other devs, which usually means less actual coding than you get promoted into no coding, only design. Eventually even the design gets removed till you are just in meetings saying yes or no to how viable potential stuff is. That's me. I work in facilities/building maintenance. I basically deliver packages and change light bulbs. When there's nothing to do, I have 3 hiding spots to choose from. One even has a foam mattress top to lay on. Facilities can be a pretty chill job, especially when there's a hard ceiling of job complexity above which the answer is call a vendor. The building is your domain. You walk around and keep an eye on stuff, do a little groundskeeping, do little fixes and jobs on request, keep supplies ordered. Enough weird shit happens to keep it interesting.